Oh, well, hello there, friends and family. Glad to see you over this morning. Now, what I'd like to say, since y'all did stop by, we're getting ready to cook up some breakfast. And if you follow my cooking videos, several of you have asked questions on how I cook and care for my old cast iron skillet. It's turning 41 years old now in 2020. And it's nothing special. It's just an old inexpensive Lodge 10.25 cast iron skillet. If you watch my cooking videos, you'll see me use it a lot. And I do cook in it a lot. It's my preferred skillet. And I've only got the one. But the questions that have come up is, how I season it, how I clean it, and how I've cared for it over the years. So what I thought today, since I was going to be cooking up some breakfast, I'd start a series in cast iron cooking. And I'd start it with my old pan first. The next video will actually start off with a brand new cast iron pan. And over time, we'll go through what it takes to get it in shape and get it cooking and making it a family heirloom. Like I hope this one will be someday for my daughter or my son. So, let's get the show started. So, like I said, we'll be using my old Lodge 10.25 cast iron skillets right here on the stove. Don't pay no attention to the stove, I ain't cleaned it. And if you're not aware of how cast iron is sized, the way it's sized is not how big it is on the bottom cooking surface. It's actually measured diagonally from the inside surface of the top wall to the inside surface of this wall. This is, like I said, a 10.25 pan. Bought in 1979. It's cooked literally thousands of meals. Primarily, I use it for braising meats, browning, searing meats. I have videos on how to cook perfect steak right here in this pan on the stove top when it's too cold and wet and messy outdoors. But just, a few facts on Lodge. Lodge is the oldest continuous manufacturer of cast iron cookware in America since 1896. And that being said, it's still one of the most inexpensive. And that was the reason I purchased it back in 1979 for the grand total of $6.99 for this pan. I wouldn't take $1,000 for it now. It'll be with me till I end my life, and then hopefully my daughter and my son will continue on with it. Now it's not perfect, folks. It looks all nice and black and shiny, but as we get in here closer, you can see the finish. It's not perfect. It's got some differences there. Some layers are more glossy than others. Still got a rather rougher texture to it. And when I bought this pan, it didn't come seasoned. Back then, cast iron didn't come pre-seasoned. Jump forward to modern day times, and you just can't find one that isn't pre-seasoned anymore. Or at least 99.9% of them are. So let me show you what I do to get started cooking in this. And what we're going to be cooking today is what I feel is the ultimate test. We're going to be cooking scrambled eggs. Yep, in a cast iron skillet. So let me get set up and show you just how I do it. So the first thing you want to do with a cast iron pan, folks, is you want to preheat your pan. That's a common mistake people make when using cast iron. Cast iron takes time to come up to temperature. There's a lot of science behind that. And a lot of people think, well, sure, Tom, look at what it weighs. We all know cast iron weighs a lot in comparison to an aluminum pan or a steel pan. but it has a lot more to do with the science of the metal. Cast iron is a poor conductor of heat in comparison to the other three types of metals used to manufacture cookware, such as copper being the best. Then there's aluminum being the second best. Then you have steel, and of course fourth being cast iron. So it takes time. So what you're going to want to do is set your pan up on a burner. And another mistake is choosing the wrong size burner. Because cast iron is a poor conductor of heat, if you use a small burner, that center is going to get hot, and it's going to take longer for that heat to travel across the surface and up your sidewalls. So what you want to do is make sure, this is a big pan, you put it on a large burner like I have right here. And in my next video I'll go through all the science and engineering for you and why this is two of the most important steps you can make. Now we're going to be doing scrambled eggs today, so we don't got to have it real hot. We're going to set it at a 3 on my burner, which is medium low. And we're going to let it come up to temperature for around, 5-10 minutes, while we get everything ready to make our scrambled eggs. So now while that pan's coming up to temperature, we're going to go ahead and get our scrambled eggs ready here. And it ain't hard. We got us 3 eggs here. We're just going to crack them off in this bowl real quick. There's 2 of them. We'll get this third one. And we got a little bit of a shell there. Yeah, I know. I should have probably done this in another bowl, but I didn't. We'll just get the fork here. We'll get it out of there. And then we'll use our finger, because we got to wash up our hands anyway. So let me give the hands a little bit of a quick wash there. We'll come back and get these thrown on together. Now these eggs ain't nothing special. We got 3 large eggs there. I'm going to add in a little bit of pepper because I like it. You may not. Going to add us in some salt. And then what I have here is I have a mix of celery, green peppers, and onions. Those don't go in now. But what I want to put into the egg mixture too is I want to put in just a touch of basil. Not much, don't take a lot. Just a tad. And we'll pop in a little parsley. Not much either. And then we're going to take our fork right here, break the yolks up some, and we're just going to give it a quick whisk. And there we go. Got our eggs ready there to go on in that pan. And we're going to take a look, see how that pan's coming. And one easy way to tell about your pan, you got to be careful with your hand. Just touch right here on the edge. And I can tell you, it's nice and cool still. So we'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll come back. So we went ahead and cleaned up. While our pan was coming up to temperature. And it took about 7 to 8 minutes. Let's just check it real quick. Yep, I don't know if you can see that, but we just sprinkled a little water on her there, and the water danced around and immediately evaporated. So the second thing I do whenever I go to cook in my cast iron pan is I take a little bit of olive oil on a paper towel and I just give the pan a quick rub. Not much oil, just real quick wipe down. Now we're going to be using for our fat today, we're going to be using some butter. Now you can use whatever you want. Now granted, cast iron is never going to be as non-stick as a non-stick pan. It's just not going to happen, folks. So what we're going to do is we're going to take us about half a tablespoon of sweet cream butter there. That's salted butter. And as you can see, that pan's good and hot. Now something you got to understand about cast iron too is it conducts heat poorly. It takes a while to heat up, but also takes a while to cool back down. That's why rushing it by turning up your burner is never going to be a good thing. Because you're going to get it real hot, and then you're going to want to cool it down, and you'll turn your burner down, throw your food in there, and it's going to immediately stick and burn. We're just going to throw that vegetable mixture in there that we had. And like I said, that's just some chopped up celery, some green pepper, and some green onions, or spring onions. We're just going to let them saute a little bit there in that nice sweet butter, just to get them a little bit soft. Now with heat conduction being one of the disadvantages of cast iron taking a while to heat up, that becomes one of its strongest advantages. It loses heat very slowly. In other words, it takes time to cool down. Because of its thickness, heat conductivity, and its overall mass, it has a lot of heat capacity. That's why they make excellent pans to sear meat, cook meat in, fry in, and of course bake in. We're just going to let them brown a minute. Okay, looks like we got those vegetables just brown to touch there. They'll still have some crisp to them, just the way I like them. Now we're ready to add in the eggs. We got them right here. Just gonna pour them right on in there. We're not going to mess with them right this second. We're going to let them set up a little bit. See right here. Then we're just going to start moving them around, breaking them up. You see, it's not sticking. Just move around nice and easy. Of course, you got to work with these eggs now. And you just cook them to any desired doneness you want. Now, I don't like my eggs real dry. Some of you out there might. I sort of like mine moist. And we're about approaching where I like them. I'm going to get them off the heat right now. We'll turn that burner on off. And we'll get these on a plate. So here we got them. Let's see if they'll slide out of that pan. Ooh, that pan's hot. And some of them got away from us. But sure enough, they slid right out of that pan. And that pan is hot and it's heavy. We'll just put the pan back on the stove. Pick up what got away from us there. And I'm going to go ahead and make up the rest of my breakfast here. And we'll come back and I'll show you how I clean that pan up. It needs to be cooling off some anyway. So I got my plate put together. Got the scrambled eggs I made there. Got me some spring onion and some toast. So I'm going to eat this real quick. And I'll let that pan cool down some. And then I'll come back and clean the pan up and show you how I do that too. So y'all, we finished up our tasty little breakfast there. Scrambled eggs and toast and spring onions. And now we're ready to clean up our pan. Since while we're eating it allowed this pan to cool off. So let me show you what we got here on the surface before we start the cleaning process that I use. So if you look, most of it is really nice and clean. But if you look right there, it looks like we did have some that stuck a little bit to the surface. Now that ain't hard, I'm just using this old blunt wood scraper here. It ain't sharp at all. But what I do next is something I've done ever since my grandmother showed me how. Because when I first got this Lodge pan, that started for the first year or two a love-hate relationship. Because even though I loved to cook in it, I hated to clean it. And I knew something wasn't right. Because I knew my great-grandmothers and my grandmother, they didn't have to sit there at the sink and do all this scrubbing with Brillo pads and wire brushes and all of that. So I went up to visit my grandmother, Grandmother Himes. My great-grandmother had already passed at the time. And I asked her, told her what my problem was. And she said, well, Tommy, you come on in the kitchen this afternoon. You can help cook dinner. And once we've had dinner, I'll show you how I do it. So you're going to see how she showed me and how I've done it all my life. So, what she showed me was, she took a pan right there, put it back on the burner, and then she added some water right to the pan. Just like I'm doing right now. And then she turned her burners back on. Set them down there. and left it. What she'd do then, she'd start doing the rest of the dishes, bowls, spoons, utensils, while this pan came back up to temperature. And what it would do, just start to do a boil. As soon as this one starts that, I'll show you what it's doing and why it helps you clean it. Okay, y'all, we had this pan heating back up while we went ahead and did the rest of our dishes, and as you can see, it's just come to a light boil. And if you can camera, so I hope you can see it. If the camera will show it, there's just these tiny bubbles coming up from the bottom of the surface. The only other thing I do is just what grandmother did. She'd take her metal spatula, just like the one right here, and she wouldn't dig at it. She would just run it across that surface ever so lightly. Just like that. Now you can also hear, I'm sure, that the surface of this pan isn't all that smooth. And that's after going on 41 years. But trust me, it was as rough as a tar and gravel road out in the country when I first got it. That's all she did. She just run that sharp edge right across there. Now Lodge makes a plastic utensil for this, and I've been meaning to get one of those, but my grandmother never had one. She never owned a plastic utensil in her life. She had metal ones she used for cooking, wood ones she used for mixing and baking. And I have plastic. Somewhere I lost my scraper. So I just reverted back to what I always used and she used. A metal spatula. And like I say, you're not putting no weight behind it. You're just running it across that surface. Don't take a lot, because it's actually those bubbles forming on the surface of the cast iron that are loosening up anything that might be stuck to the bottom of the pan. So we're going to turn our burner off, let it cool down a bit, and we'll finalize cleaning this thing on up. Okay, y'all, we've let that pan cool down to where we can handle it. Just take some time. What we're going to do is we're going to start some hot water. It can be warm, but it should be on the warmer side. And we're going to go ahead and start rinsing out our pan. We'll just dump it out right there. We're going to start rinsing it on out. And you can tell my old hot water doesn't come out all too fast. Nope, it don't. We'll turn her up just a little bit there. Take our sprayer. Give it a good spray off. Now, I don't know if you can see it there, but pretty much all gone. Now we do have a little bit right here on the sidewall. So we're just going to take it, put it in our light soapy water right there. Yep, soap. This just like grandmother did. It didn't kill the pan, regardless of what people tell you. And we have one of these natural dishwashing scrubbies. This ain't no Scotch Brite. This is nice and soft sponge. And this side is a natural fiber scrubber. Ain't tough at all. we're just going to give it a wipe down here, and I ain't even pressing on it hard. Just run it around there some. And I wash it all over. I don't put it in there soaking, and for God's sakes, don't put your pan in the dishwasher. Don't you dare do it. And then we're just going to give it a quick rinse. And got it all nice rinsed there. There you have it. Not a speck on it. So now what we got to do is the final step, and we put it back on the stove right now. So we went ahead and put it back on the stove, and we're going to fire it up one last time. Nice and low, slow. We're going to leave it there till all that water evaporates. And once it does, we'll come back. Okay, like I said, we put the pan back on the burner, set it at low, and it hasn't been there all that long, and it's now totally dry. And I do that to ensure there's no water on it. Now I'm going to do the last and final step I always do before I'm done with it. And that is, you want to put just a touch of oil back in it. Just a touch. Don't take much. Right there. And then I'm going to wipe that oil. And I use olive oil. And I put it all over that pan. And it's still hot. That burner's on. And there's reasoning for that. Let me get a little old pot holder there, because I like to put it on the sides. Get that handle good. I put a little thin coat on the bottom. And I place it right back on that burner. Now you could use a lint-free towel for that, but every towel I get a hold of leaves lint on it these days. Now my grandmother, she used one of her little white towels. I'm not sure what it was made of. And I just wiped the majority of that oil right out of there. And there you have it. So we're all finished up. It's all nice and clean. And got a very light film of oil back on it. And it's ready to go back and go to sleep again underneath the oven till she needs to be brought out again to cook up some goodness. So y'all, that's how I do it. And I don't claim that it's the best way or the only way. It's just the way I was showed and the way I've done it now for about 39 years. And over time, it's worked well for me. And that's a fine cooking pan, as you can see. Now you can watch 1,000 YouTube videos out there. People will show you dozens of different ways. But I didn't use a wire brush. I didn't use no Scotch-Brite on it. Steel wool or some of that chain malt stuff that they sell on Amazon. And this is the way my grandmother did it, the way my mama did it, my daddy, and now the way I do it. And that pan will be around, like I say, for the rest of my life. And hopefully be passed down to my daughter, son, or grandson. And something my grandmother told me that day she showed me finally done. And I made a little comment about, you know, it takes some time, don't it, Grandma? She said, yeah, it does, Tommy. But it's sort of like a relationship. You got to put time in it if you want to build a good one. If you want to build a good relationship with your cast iron pans, it takes a little time. So, like I said, in the next video, I'll be taking a brand new cast iron pan. It'll only be the second cast iron pan I've ever owned in my life. I'll give you the reasons why I'm buying it, why I chose the one I did, why I choose the oil that I'm going to be seasoning it with, and the method. And I also include the science that goes behind it. Because indeed, there's science involved. It's not magic. So, if you liked the video, hope you give it a thumbs up. And as always, until I see you on the next video, y'all take care, stay safe out there, and God bless each and every one of you. Goodbye for now. Trixie, you slept through the whole video. Weren't you interested? You weren't. Oh, you don't like eggs? Well, come on. Let's watch some YouTube, okay?